Welcome to our series of conversations, an initiative of the Hamza Bond Cultural Foundation. Our conversations each time revolve around how we can shape a just, peaceful, and prosperous Iran for all of us to thrive in. We are joined by Dr. Iraj Abedian, who is an economist by training, but humbly refers to himself as an eternal student of the social sciences. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Iraj John, today we'll be talking a little bit about the role of education. Education is a very powerful tool and an empowering tool, so much so that some people like to prevent others from accessing it. Now, what model of education is worth investing in? What kind of education do we want to be building in Iran, in the world, for our future generations?
Yeah, education is as powerful to build societies. Equally, it's a powerful tool to prevent societies from progress. We can see modern research in the field of economics, primarily about drivers of economic prosperity and social development, focuses increasingly on the foundational issues of which education is one of the most powerful. We see right through the history, and nowadays with the help of modern media and technology, we can have real-time access to societies that are held back and societies that are developed and are developing. All of them have one thing in common. If the education system is right, it contributes greatly. If the education system is not configured for the modern society to prosper, to develop, and to build human beings who are capable, confident, and in a position to participate in the prosperity, education itself becomes the biggest obstacle to development.
That's right. Now, I've been doing a little bit of research on communication. I'm an eternal student of communication in media. And for me, what has been interesting is that the way we talk about things shapes how we structure reality, how we structure our societal institutions around those things. And when it comes to education, it seems that we've been talking about education as teachers being expert service providers and students being recipients of passive information. And they're very often seen as cups that can be filled, versus perhaps the image of students being a mine rich in gems of inestimable value that can be brought out and polished. How can we shift towards talking about, and what has to be done in order for us to be able to move towards a situation where we talk about education in that way, and education becomes a lifestyle really for all of us?
I think that sort of philosophy of education, which you referred to, both in the East and in the West at the moment, and all in between, is up for revision, in the sense that in the West, people have realized that the three elements of education: the content, the mode of delivery, and the purpose of education. We need to separate this. So we need to rethink what's the content. Is the content to fill the cup, as you said, and then when it's filled, the student is ready to go? Or is the content of such an importance that we need to link it to the purpose of education? And of course, the way we deliver, which is another aspect that you mentioned. What is the relationship between the educator and the scholar, so to speak? And where does it end? Is it at the age of 12 and 18, or does it go on until we're alive? So all those issues become very important. Interestingly enough, technology has now enabled us to experiment with scholars who possibly should do things a little bit differently. And there are live models of this at the moment, with impact being monitored real time, sort of scientifically correctly, and so on. And it's quite interesting that when scholars, especially young scholars, children as we refer to them often, they are allowed to explore together what they discovered without the help of the so-called teacher, but with the supervision and assistance. They go faster, they go places that the teacher could have never gone in 40 or 30 or an hour. And therefore, the whole mode of learning is about creating an environment that the latent or the hidden or embedded values, embedded capabilities, embedded excitements, and the search and the quest for discovery is unlocked. Now there is a school, for example, that says the student should do the lesson at home, come to school and do the practices, which is exactly the opposite of what we have grown up in. That no good teacher, all knowing, will tell you and they'll give you exercise, you go home and do it, and tomorrow get ticked yes or no. Now, there are interesting results coming out of it. So back to your question, how do we do it? We have to rethink, like many other aspects of modern society. As we evolve and we learn, and it's a never-ending learning. Learning never ends, should never end, and therefore one of the learnings that we have to do both in the East and the West is to sit back and learn from our mistakes in the East, mistakes in the West, and say, did we design the curriculum, the content right? Did we deliver it in the most effective way, which was respectful of the human being that we are trying to teach, and creating a participatory environment based on reciprocal respect? The teacher cannot downgrade the student just because he or she is just 10 or 20 years younger, nor should the student disrespect the incredible value that the teachers bring because of their wisdom and because of their sort of acquired knowledge and experience. And very importantly, we have to say, okay, if we get the content right, if we get the mode of delivery right, what purpose do we want to instill through our education system? For example, are we creating our young generations to serve themselves only, or serve themselves and serve the society? Are we teaching them to be nationalistic, paternalistic, or are we going to instill a value in them that sees humanity in a wider, more practical, more integrative dimension?
On this note, I think also the independent search of truth is such a valuable lesson that can be transmitted by a teacher to students. And in my own experience, one of the very valuable experiences I had growing up was I was in an environment where when we studied a subject such as the French Revolution, for example, our teachers gave us primary sources to work with, artifacts, diary entries, papal bulls. And we studied these and came back and presented, as you just mentioned, presented to our class, you know, what the findings were. And in that context, we were able to understand that there were so many different angles to finding truth, and that there was no such thing as history written by one person. It was a dialogue between people, and it was exploratory. And I think that's a very valuable thing that stayed with me for the rest of my life, because it made me feel like I'm an eternal learner. Now here at June, we've obviously just scratched the surface, but we would love to hear from you. So please visit us on hamzaban.org and share your comments with us, and also find us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you so much.